Bonjour à tous et bienvenue pour cette nouvelle vidéo. Vous l'attendiez peut-être, je vous en parlais depuis un petit moment déjà, mais voici enfin ma première vidéo d'interview d'une personnalité du métal. Toutes les interviews que je ferai dans ce format seront anglophones parce que dans le paysage francophone, il y a assez d'interviews, je pense. C'est aussi un prétexte pour moi pour vous faire découvrir des groupes que j'aime beaucoup. Et en l'occurrence, aujourd'hui, j'ai eu la chance et l'immense honneur de pouvoir interviewer Andy Kuntz, donc le chanteur de VANDEN PLAS, gros groupe de heavy metal progressif de la scène allemande, un statut culte et je dirais même incontournable dans la scène européenne. L'interview est en anglais, donc si vous avez du mal avec l'anglais, je vous invite à mettre les sous-titres. N'hésitez pas à me mettre en commentaire des suggestions de personnalités que vous aimeriez que je mette en interview la prochaine fois. Si vous voulez que je tente avec Rob Halford, Bruce Dickinson, bon, on sait jamais, hein, sur un malentendu ça peut marcher. Juste avant de vous mettre l'interview, je tiens d'abord à m'excuser du temps que ça m'a pris pour uploader cette vidéo. Je vous garantis qu'en ce moment, je chôme pas du tout. Mon seul défaut, c'est de ne pas assez filmer et documenter tout le travail que je fais en musique. Du coup, des fois, on a l'impression que je fais rien, alors que c'est vraiment pas du tout le cas. Allez, je vous laisse avec cette interview d'Andy Kuntz. J'espère que ça vous plaira. Je vous remercie encore une fois pour votre soutien. Pour rappel, si vous voulez financer la chaîne, c'est sur Tipeee que ça se passe. Et donc, encore une fois, merci à tous les tipeurs. Bon visionnage et à très bientôt. Bonjour à tous, good morning everyone. Hello Andy, wie geht's?
Bonjour, sehr gut. Très bien, merci.
Tout va bien, tout va bien. Andy Kuntz, you're the singer of VANDEN PLAS, a prog metal band from Germany since 1986, if I'm correct. And maybe one of the most iconic prog metal band from Europe, actually. You have your upcoming album. It's the 12th album, which is called the EMPYREAN Equation of the Long Lost Things. We'll get back to that, to that.
Exactly.
To this very simple title. So I heard you had a new keyboardist, Alessandro Del Vecchio, and he said on a YouTube comment that he had to cut some other projects in order to dedicate himself to VANDEN PLAS. So can we expect Alessandro to stay in VANDEN PLAS permanently?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that was also our goal before asking. Many other keyboardists asked us to play with us, and in the end we decided to work with Alessandro. But of course, before we really fixed it, we asked him because we know how much he was doing in the past. And for us, it was very important that we don't work with him as a hired gun. We wanted to have him as a fixed keyboarder in VANDEN PLAS, also helping us to write the next albums. So we wanted to involve him really fix in the band, and he decided to work with VANDEN PLAS. And a few months later, after we signed with him, he told officially now at the same that you were talking about at the moment, that he quit as the home producer of Frontiers. So he's very much independent now to work with very less other bands like Jorn. Jorn is a good friend of him, and with Hardline.
He's known for his work in those bands, actually. Yeah,
exactly. And now he's doing like Edge of Forever, his band VANDEN PLAS, and a few shows with Jorn and with Hardline. But that's it. And so we can expect that he is able, has the time and is able to work with us permanently and write also the new songs with us for the next album. Then
I was going to ask you about that because I think it shows. It feels like there's a new hand behind the songwriting. You already released 2 songs from the upcoming album, which will be out next week. So at the time, by the time we are speaking, it's not released yet. There's 2 songs that are called My Carrion Flight and Sacrilegious Mind Machine. And those new songs from the upcoming album, I find them sounding quite different from the 2 previous ones because, well, I always loved VANDEN PLAS's albums, but to me those songs seems already more, how should I say that, impactful, maybe catchier than the previous one. And it seems that there are also some new sounds, new atmospheres that were brought by Alessandro's keyboard. So my question is, how did the making of the album went, and was it different from the previous album? And did Alessandro took part in the composition, and to what extent? And also, I'm sorry, it's a lot of questions at the same time.
Okay.
But also, did the pandemic, the COVID pandemic, had an impact on your work and your way of writing things?
First of all, maybe the first question I want to give is, Alessandro was not involved in the songwriting.
Okay.
Totally not. We decided to write the album, only Stefan and me, and but he has a lot of freedom to work with his sounds. We wanted to go a little bit more back to the roots, like maybe South Grace and Beyond Daylight area.
Reminding me of Beyond Daylight, actually.
Yeah, a little bit like
it's the
that.
First album I heard from you guys.
Really? Yeah.
It's the first one.
Many people say when they listen to the new stuff that the songs remind them on these albums like Far Off Grace and Beyond Daylight, and that was mainly the goal we tried to reach. And in the beginning, when we asked Alessandro, we also talked with him about how the album should sound and what sound preferences we have in case of keyboard playing. And the most people know him as a producer for Frontiers Records, and he produced definitely many bands and albums sounding very AOR, and many of our fans were a little bit afraid of in which direction VANDEN PLAS would go with him together. But we knew before that he has a very proggy heart. He comes from the prog rock. He was one of our first bands. You know, he knows the band VANDEN PLAS from the very beginning. And when we talked, I know him like since 3 years. When we talked, he told me that he was in the first row in Milano, like 2000, where we were playing in Milano in a very small club. So he was very inside of the music from VANDEN PLAS, and he knew exactly when we say we wanted to go a little bit more back to the roots, also with the sounds, with more of Hammond sounds and Moog sounds and stuff like that, and using with a new VANDEN PLAS outfit. I want to say we want to use like the orchestrals just in parts, very prominently then, but not all over. And during the last albums, was like a little bit overdosed, because Günther loved to arrange big orchestras, and I found in the end it was a little bit overloaded sometimes. So the real sound of VANDEN PLAS comes not 100% through, and I think this step back with Alessandro helps the band in many ways.
Yes, plus Jorn is also known for his previous works in some prog bands like Arc and Beyond Twilight. So so you feel there's still something in common between the projects. It's not only hard rock, mainstream things. So yeah, it shows actually. So I think it's a pretty good choice from you guys. Also, I wanted to go deeper about the album which will be out, not only in terms of music, but also in terms of concept, because VANDEN PLAS is usually making concept albums. At least there's always a story linking all the songs of the album. For instance, the Christo album about the Count of Monte Cristo, the Seraphic Clockwork, which is about a guy from the 16th century that goes back in time in Jerusalem.
You know it better than me.
There's also the Chronicles of the Immortals 1 and 2, the Ghost Experiment 1 and 2. So can you tell me about the story this album will tell?
Yeah, I can. Yeah. The empirical equation of the long lost things is not a real concept this time.
Okay.
We had the chance this time to work differently in writing and in the end also of producing. And I wanted to go also this step back before I really started to write concepts with Christ Zero. That was the real first concept. I had it just like red lines over a story, not really a concept that every song is connected with each other, and in Far of Grace and Beyond Daylight. And I wanted to go also this way a little bit more back to see every song a little bit more solitude. So what the Empyrean equation of the long lost things is more like a chronicle of different stories. And they all deal with the same topic, with the essential things in life, like things we can hold on to, and also maybe things we carelessly give away through our life.
Okay,
and
so there's always a red line, like you said.
Yeah. So and in the end, the last song, the 16-minute plus March of the Saints, combines in the end all the different stories with the same topic. That's a kind of clue, I hope.
Yeah, because I noticed that there will be like 6 songs only in this album. It's fewer than usual. So I was gonna ask if there would be a second part with another album next year, but apparently you already answered to that. It may not be the case this time.
No, I mean, while writing the songs, we had a real flow, so we really had to decide which songs we use for this album, which fits the best together to have in the end a complete work that works inside of itself. But I could imagine that we don't want to bring out a part like the Empyrean equation of the long lost things parts 2, but a little bit out of this mood we wrote, and we like to write now in the future. Maybe the next album title is completely different, but is still a little bit connected to the first one, like a prequel or sequel, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. At the moment, this is in my head because I know that there's so much material which fits exactly. We easily could have done a double album this time. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you're answering my next question, actually. No, it's perfect. It's perfect. But we'll get back on that further in the view, hopefully.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about something else totally different. Well, I noticed there are several French references in your work. For example, the Christo album, which is centered by Le Comte de Monte Cristo. You also did some acoustic covers of some French artists, for example, Stéphane Echer with Déo Débat. Yeah. You also made a French version of How Many Tears, if I'm not mistaken. You also did quite a few French festivals, for example, the Vouziers Festival in 2012. You also did the Rennes Fest in the north of France. During our exchanges by email, you told me that you had some sort of special connection to France. So can you tell me about this special connection? What do you find special about France, actually?
Also, my holidays during the last 10 years, I'm in holidays in France. I love France. I love the French connection. I love the way of living in France. I love the people. The first connections we had with France is we played there. Our first record company with the promoter Olivier Garnier was in France.
Ah,
When
Olivier
we
Garnier. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
I do it.
When we had like a new album out, all the promo stuff went over Paris. Also, the journalists from Germany came to Paris to interview us. So we have a very special connection. And the first real big gigs of VANDEN PLAS were in France. We played there in Paris and had like 400-500 people in the very beginning. And so this connection is very, very close. Very friendly, and j'aime la langue française très bien. I don't speak good, but I think when I really try, I love my voice. Hear me singing French, and I do that too less. I think, yeah. I wanted to do it more because I like the French language. And I love to sing in French, so I don't know where this connection exactly comes, but I love the way of living in France, and so I'm there in the Ardèche. I go there to my holidays there in
Okay.
Levant every year since the last 10 years. I'm there, and then going down to Le Grau du Roi. On this very big beach no, in Egmont. So I love it. I don't know where it comes from, this connection, but I love it, you know. So
Where do you live in Germany, actually?
I live in Kaiserslautern. It's close to the border, like 70 kilometers to Saarbrücken, and then go over to Santa Volt there, you know, in this area.
Well, actually, it's it's where I live. I live near Saint-Avold, so we're
No,
close.
really?
We're close, actually. I live in Metz. I live in Metz.
I love Metz. I really.
Yes, I figured that.
One day per year, I'm in Metz, walking around there. I love Metz, you know.
Okay, give me a call.
Yeah,
Give me a call.
yeah. So we can meet easily, directly. Yeah.
Of course, of course. So, about another subject, well, about your influences. I wanted to talk about the influences of VANDEN PLAS, because to me, VANDEN PLAS has always been the kind of band that stays true to themselves, where I've always found that you guys have had a very specific sound and way of writing songs since the beginning. You've never embraced, to me, you've never embraced any trends or anything. But would you say that newer bands has influenced your sound or your way of writing stuff? For instance, you were existing before bands like Dream Theater even released their first album. You were existing before them. So, but would you say that their albums had an influence on VANDEN PLAS's work, or maybe other progressive bands even younger than that, like, I don't know, Andromeda, Anubis Gate, or do you have an example of a new band that you find really interesting and inspiring?
I love. I'm very open in my musical taste from the very beginning. I started as a fan from Peter Frampton. I come from this area like Kansas, Genesis, Pink Floyd, from this progressive area, you know. And I mean, one thing is from the very beginning, but we had not the skills. We were not able to play progressive music, you know.
Yeah.
But since we started in the theater, playing also with big orchestras, with conductors and stuff, we learned very easily and fast. So after our first output, Color Temple, we had this big production, Jesus Christ Superstar, in the Theater of the States in Saarbrücken. And we were able, after we played 60 shows with a conducted orchestra, we were able to express ourselves. Our skills improved very fast. So with the next album, we had the chance to show more of the skills, like progressive music, like progressive music. And the only thing Dream Theater influenced ourselves is that when the images and words came out, to listen to the stuff, say, okay, they are also melodic, but they dare a lot more than we do. And they learned us to express ourselves more and dare more to put inside of the music. That was really the big thing Dream Theater influenced us in. And I listened to bands like Sting, Police, and nowadays, like I love Soen. This band I love a lot. Or Bring Me the Horizon. I'm very broad in my musical background also, yeah.
Okay, so
but if we are really influenced, I don't know, but I also produce in the studio the album. I sit like 300 hours in the studio till the end the album is produced, and because my background is very broad and I know a lot of other bands, and I'm still a fan. I sit at home, listen to the stuff, maybe on Spotify. When I like something, I go to Amazon or where else and buy the stuff. I really buy the stuff, and then I listen to the stuff like in earlier days, really very often to realize, why is this production sounding so good in the way of producing the keyboards or producing the drums or the guitars? And then I sit there and really listen to it, and that influenced me in the end to dare also a little bit more in the studio than when I sit there with Markus Teske.
Okay, so it's not just about the musical influence, it's also about the way of thinking, the production of daring things. Okay.
Yeah. I'm a very big fan also of Katatonia, the head of Katatonia. This guy, you know, I mean, he's a god for me. He is really he's an architect, a sound architect. You know, also the singer of Bring Me the Horizon. They are so broad in what they are doing, and everything. Even if you like the songs or not, but the production is world class every time. I mean, okay, they have a lot of money to produce it in the end, but money is not all. You have also have a goal.
You have
the vision, and
the vision.
Yeah.
Okay, really interesting. Well, I've learned things that are really interesting. I didn't know you were listening to Bring Me the Horizon or things like that.
Yeah, I love
it's surprising,
album,
but yeah, I understand what you mean when you say that they have a vision of how does it have to sound, and I think it's very clever from you guys to listen to that and to inspire yourself from that. Well, I tried to make it short since we're limited by the time of Zoom, but I have one question left. Maybe two. I'm sorry, I'm cheating. So, what can we expect from Vanden Plas in the months to come? Will there be new video content from the new album? Will there be a tour announcement? Will you come to France for this tour once again? And also, I wanted to know if you were the type of guy thinking about the next album, or are you focused on the present? But you already answered me previously, so
yeah, of course, we're totally focused. Maybe you know we had a project between All My Shadows, but now and we thought about after releasing Vanden Plas, we will produce the next All My Shadows. I must say, All My Shadows belongs to Stefan and me, and we can decide when we bring a new All My Shadows out. And for me, it's much more important now that we are in Rock Hard France album of the month. Yeah, that I was very surprised about that. Also in Aardschok in the Netherlands, we are on place 2 in the whole competition of the albums in this month. So
Huge.
we really want to concentrate on VANDEN PLAS now. Also because we have a new guy inside of VANDEN PLAS who's very pushy. Yeah, he wants to do things. Yeah, he's
It's
a
it's a
really
good thing. It's a good thing.
he's a really real pro in this case, and he brings a fresh wind also. So what I can say, we concentrate on the next album VANDEN PLAS, that it comes earlier than during the next 3 years. We want to bring it out maybe in 1.5 or 2 years, and we want to go again on tour. Especially France, like 2 or 3 shows in France. And this morning, I had a connection call with a big agency trying to put by end of the year or beginning of next year a tour together, like 3 weeks in a row, all over Europe, like 6 or 7 countries.
Okay.
That's our goal at the moment. Yeah.
Amazing. It's amazing. Okay, guys. So I'm waiting forward to hearing from all of it. And well, Andy, we'll keep in touch. I send you the work when I'm done with all of it. And well, I'm waiting from the next album. It's out soon. And well, hopefully I see you on tour, guys. We see you in a show, because I've actually never seen.
We have to make a play in Metz.
We have to see each other
in front of this big church. You know, I want to sit with you.
Cathedral.
The cathedral. Yeah, very nice. Yeah. The windows in this cathedral are amazing. You know, everybody must go there, must see you.
Yes. And it has 800 years old now.
Yeah.
It's yes.
Okay.
The cathedral is amazing. Thank you so much, Andy, from giving me so much time. I get back to you as soon as I can, and hopefully I see you guys live, because I never saw VANDEN PLAS live actually, and I hope it will be my first time soon. So thank you very much.
Yeah, I have to thank you, for your time also. Very nice talking to you. And if you see somewhere that we are playing, let's keep in touch. And of course, you're on the guest list. That's.
Thank you very much, Andy. So have a nice day. Hopefully we'll get back soon in touch. And auf Wiedersehen.
Auf Wiedersehen. Au revoir.
Au revoir.
Et merci. Merci bien.